Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another mod stream. It is I, your host, HYDRA Man. Today, we are going to not crush Metathrum's brain. Today, we're going to work on HYDRA. So today's changes. Let's take a look at what we've got here. HYDRA has pushed some crash fixes, which are nice. And I've already added those to the EXE. We've definitely got a lot of things ahead of us in terms of what we want to do. I have to add in Restream chat just decides to close itself sometimes. Really don't know why that happens. Always funny. Okay. Anyway, I was in the middle of... What is this? What is this? Well, that's something to watch for later. Okay, anyway. That totally destroyed my train of thought. I was writing down the changes to the hatchery lair and hair lair hive sire. There you go. I guess I should just separate them out into different things. I'm really impressed. That's like, there's something very fucked. With Restream, it just kills itself. Okay. If we take a look at lair, we've got 1600 from 1800, 50-50. Sire went from 80, and then from 200, and from 3000. So we still really haven't done that much for the Protoss side of things. And we haven't done the Queen revisions just yet. I don't want to remove the Infested Terrans ensnaring thing until that gets reworked into a new ability. So I'll hold off on that. Yeah, it does look like the remaining changes are going to be, for the most part, just things that require a little bit more of an in-depth approach to actually getting work done on the content, as it were. Like actually jumping in and working on the mod itself. So I think we'll go ahead and close some of this stuff out. Having documented that, I'll go ahead and push the HYDRA resolve to crashes. Okay. I feel like we could probably push this current version. Just to verify that it actually worked correctly, I do want to... Oh, wait. I'm going to see what I can accomplish by running this map through its paces here, because I was actually going to write or record a HYDRA AI castover looking at some of the stuff here. But ultimately, I didn't, because I do feel like maybe Auroras are a little busted. They should probably have less shields. So my thought process was that they would have the same as a Wraith when you took in their shields and HP. Corsairs are probably like sleeper busto, since I reduced their gas cost, I think, without actually reducing their survivability in any capacity. Anyway, the reason why we're running through this map real quick is just because I want to see if we get any crashes. Ahmed's on the buildings, no. You know, I like how this guy is doing so much damage with his units, but he's off of one base. So he's fucked as soon as like a large force hits him, it feels like. I definitely feel like Corsair should be a little bit more fragile. So I'll probably reduce the overall... Oh, shit. It's too bad the Shamans don't, like, stick with their... I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but... It's like an obvious case of where it would be nice to have the Shaman down here. I like the little specialist squad of units, though. It's pretty cool. I don't know what's going on at that facing angle. It's not possible to deal with the Apostle, see a nerd. Yeah. Doing more damage to their own units at this point. Oh, fuck. Yeah, it looks like the AI units do still fail to actually do stuff after they've respawned. Yeah, they just sit there. So that still is not fixed. Go ahead and add that to the list. Well, either way, Zerg here. Got some basilisks chilling. So yeah, looks like it'll be a... Oh yeah, creep is definitely not receding as intended, I think. Oh, maybe... Well, it's receding in a very weird way now. I don't think I've ever seen this exact method. Oh no, it's just flat out. Is it? It's taking a long fucking time. I actually don't really mind that style of receding, but it's much slower than it usually is. So that should definitely be fixed. Oh, meanwhile, Zerg here have won the day with their 2-2 upgrades. We're going to try making it so that creep recedes much faster. What do you mean by the trajectory of the rocket? Sorry, man, I have no idea what that even means. At least that's easily reproducible. Yeah, I don't think it's possible to fix that. I don't actually know why stuff like that happens. That's technically possible with Dragoon projectiles as well. I think the issue is actually coming from the launch spin option, which maybe I can resolve by rolling into the... I might be able to find a way to fix that way. Madrigal. 21 and 22, okay. Oh, there is no launch spin for these, so I'm actually not sure why that happens. Do I have the basilisk in here as well? I do not, but I can just go to 129. So I get rid of the launch spin, and then I take a look at, I'll have to go into the actual flingy here. I'm saying it's technically possible, it's just controlled in a different way. Like, there's nothing specific about the graphic that makes it behave that way. It's just how the graphics mover is configured in the data files. But I don't remember exactly what controls that. So, like, it's actually super easy to have that happen all the time. But I guess if we wanted to compare it, right, we could compare these two here. One of the major things that you'll see is that the halt distance is significantly higher for the phase disruptor. So I guess we could, like, start out by just copying that stuff, give it a higher acceleration, but we'll keep its top speed the same because we don't want it to go too fast. And then we can try that and see if that results in something any better. I'm also not sure if the launch spin would have been enough, so it might be a double dipping here. I'm not sure why the missiles spin in while they're in transit to the target. I couldn't tell you why. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing? Yeah, I think that ends up feeling a little bit snappier at least. So why don't we jump over to the Madrigal missile. And maybe by just increasing the halt distance, it will be enough. We can try that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the graphic came out, even though it was just like a very quick fix in that sense. And immediately destroyed, of course. Maybe I spawned too many, I don't know. Where's my Azazel? Yeah, it might be in the middle of iScript. Anyway, it doesn't seem like that fixed it. Well, it certainly resolves a lot quicker, so maybe that is actually a key component. I guess there could be a turn CC wise, yeah. Oh wait, never mind. That was kind of goofy. No, there is no turn CC wise or turn C wise. I'm not actually sure why it does that. It's really weird. Is there some... Let me see if there's like an error reported or anything. No? I have no idea. No, you're not getting what I'm saying. So, like, the projectile is actually changing its facing direction while it's in the middle of firing, which only usually happens if there's like a turn C-wise or turn CC-wise opcode in the animation. So if we compare it to a unit, it would be like if a Marine was looking further down while walking or something, even though they were facing, they were moving in a like a straight right line, but they were looking down, so they weren't facing the direction they were moving. That's what's happening to the bullet. It's not anything to do with the art itself. Now we could, in theory, resolve this by changing the projectile itself into just an orb, but that's not what I want for the unit, so I elected not to do that. All right, so what I'm thinking now is we should be moving on to a... Oh yeah, I guess I'll have to add the note there. All right. I think there were probably a few others, though, that... may have had some fuckery going on. Well, I guess it wasn't that. I think the Pegasus probably needs to be... Yeah, we probably need to resolve that at some point. I thought there were more that had that problem. Doesn't appear to be the case there. All right, I'm just adjusting some stats here. Given a price like that, it doesn't really make any sense to me that it would be. Okay, I think we're good there. Just some small changes to buff up the Pegasus a little bit. Though I'd still think that the main issue is accessibility for it, but we'll get to that later on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's coming to mind as like a little underwhelming. Maybe the Paladin for its cost. It is meant to be a rather expensive unit though, so I feel like that's almost... Actually, I think it's quite well balanced in that respect. It'll be a little bit more defensible once it can move while attacking, which it currently cannot, and we're not sure if we'll be able to even implement that in this engine. We'll see what we can do. So yeah, pretty small adjustments overall. I don't see much of anything else that needs to be done necessarily. I was thinking that maybe exemplars are a little too tanky. I guess their projectile should also be fly and follow, as opposed to fly and don't follow. Ucraft. How you doing, dude? Still a small list of bugs that I would like to resolve where possible, but it's probably fine to do it for now. Okay. Actually, Fagudo's point about a potential higher tier supply strain, I mean, it implies that he has never morphed an Overlord into anything else, so to that extent, he doesn't recognize that there's already tier 2 and 3 and 4 supply strains. But when it comes to the idea of having a dedicated unit for just supply or something, I could see why that might be attractive conceptually, but it doesn't really sit very well with me. I do appreciate Iquare's reposting of the Mongolith. Mongolith activated. Should be able to close all that. I'm wondering how the SCVs ended up dying in that way. Like, I'm not sure if it's something that can just be... Yeah, I'm not actually sure what the logic behind the SCVs freezing is. It must be like a particular... Immediately eviscerated, of course. Oh, that's the problem if you got 2 base armor. So I'm dealing... Hold on. Let's do some math. So I deal... It must be like 1. Especially with the regeneration. I think I'm dealing 2 damage per wraith. That's pretty ridiculous. Dude, imagine. Add that to the bug list. Okay. Well, aside from documenting more bugs, I guess, I don't know. It does feel a little weird that wraiths get so brutally hard countered by Gorgoleths, because not only do they only deal 2 damage per hit to them, but they also have energy and are light, so they get destroyed by the Gorgolith. Like, that feels kind of bad. So the Gorgolith might itself need to be less tanky, is what I'm thinking. But it's also a frontliner. So would dropping the health by like 10 or something really do that much? I don't think so. Thinking. I think maybe the cost might be a bit off. Let's check the cost right now. 75.25. So in order to get a Gorgolith, assuming you already have the Spire and the Gorgolith Apiary, you need 75. So 175 minerals on 125 gas. I don't see that as being so bad. I mean, I guess you could do 75.50, but that's what the Devourer is. I think the time cost being 20 seconds is fine as well. Take a look at the Guardians, 5100. This probably needs to actually go down because that's on top of the Gorgolith. So we need 50. So you need 175, so 225 minerals and 225 gas after all is said and done. I'm not sure the Guardian justifies that level of cost. That's pretty fucking intense. So I think we should probably drop the Guardian's gas cost to 50. I wonder if we drop the Guardian's gas cost to 50 and then just make Gorgolith's cost 100 minerals and no gas. So then all told, the Guardian would cost 250 minerals and 200 gas, I believe. Or no, it would be 150 gas. Oh, 175 gas is okay. So the Guardian would be 225, 175. I think its time cost should go down to 20. Either way. Let's do that. Because now that it's like a nested morph, it definitely, I think, deserves another look-see in that department. So we should go ahead and revise that. Okay. Pretty goofy stuff, TBH. We're going to try to fix the spider mine bug. It's really difficult to replicate, though. I'm just going to do exactly what I did before, which is try my best to replicate it. Brutalized. Yeah. So it looks like I think I know what's happening here. It looks like when they return to an idle animation, right? They don't actually fully set. So now I think this one will bug out. Yeah. Oh, and apparently it'll be visible without any detection. I'm DMing you the details of it right now. So I was able to replicate it. Can you fix up creep so that I can push this update, or are you not able to do that? Oh, okay. But did you increase the rate is what I mean? Like, is creep actually... I didn't want you to fix creep, first of all. I wanted you to make it faster, that's all. I don't know if you saw that message. Well, you increased the speed for creep spread a long time ago based on hive count, and that also increased the speed that it receded at, if you remember. Yeah. And now I can attack them and they don't actually burrow. But yeah, we had creep receding faster a long time ago based on... Well, I vaguely recall something where we couldn't figure out how to make recede spread stay the same when creep spread increased. And creep spread was based on the player as opposed to individual units. So if you can remember how we had that initially set up in GPTP, presumably it was some commit history with larva creep spawn would be able to figure out what the code was. Use of STD Rand can cause these things. Thanks. We still have that bug with infested command centers where they won't spread creep if they don't land on creep or something. At least I'm pretty sure we still have that. Or maybe it's that they don't spawn larvae if they don't land at creep. I don't remember. Yeah. Oh, it just won't spread creep at a new location? No, even if it lands on creep again, it doesn't work. I'm not sure why, though. Whatever, I think you need to reinitialize the unit status or something when a unit lands. Because I know if you take for example, if you take like a sunken colony and transport it in an Irolith or something, the same thing will happen. As you can see, it doesn't actually get updated. So it never starts spreading creep again. Well, anybody can transport buildings if they have the sufficient size. But like the missile turret doesn't start spinning again. Photon cannons don't care if they have power or not. In fact, I think for that reason I stopped you from being able to load them. Obviously, if you ever tried to load like a bunker, which I disabled because there was a lot of bugs with that as well, same sort of thing would happen. I think dropships can move missile turrets. Yeah. So anything can transport a missile turret. Or a creep colony. And by definition, also other colonies. Oh, it looks like creep colonies are fine. What the fuck? So creep colonies are fine for spreading creep, but not anything else? Although it doesn't seem to work if there's no creep nearby. I assume if I, like, morph, then it'll start... Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird. No, you can't transport anything else. Add-ons are a good shout, though. I think that would make sense. So I assume the same thing actually happens over here for other... Oh, actually, that creep ended up being permanent now. That's pretty epic. I'm done playing Huntcraft. It wasted my time every single map, but I played 5 maps, I think. You can check the VOD. It's in the shit campaigns playlist. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to do my Dead Space 2 review and then play another actual game and then play another custom campaign. And then I'll be playing an RTS called Genesis Rising, which is a really old one that I played a long time ago. It's a ugly 3D RTS. It's I think it's a space RTS as well. So there's not really any terrain, unfortunately. But I think, from what I recall, it's like even edgier Warhammer 40,000. So that is planned. I think in theory we would be able to find what the timer is if we figure out all of the different functions that call spread creep. I imagine that would be something that we could use. But in the meantime, I can ask Voyager. I think we should still just try. We should try just increasing the creep spread speed and see if that also increases recede speed. Did you get any word back from DF about the ion cannon? I don't think he's up yet. So he's a sleepy boy today. Oh, right, yeah, you said you were going to wait until creep was fixed. Let's try such an absurd change. Let's see what happens. The fuck? That's not where I wanted to go at all. It appears to be going faster. I'm going to try something even higher, though. Because that was not as impactful as I thought it would be. What would that mean? Why are none of these fucking variables ever safe? I don't understand. So then I have to do this. You can do that if you want. I don't know what that means. No, it's happening again. Well, spreading it definitely seems much faster. And receding does not seem as fast, so... Although I had the wrong math operation here, so... Hopefully Voyager will know where it is then. For now, I'll just leave it at spreading. Slightly faster. to see how that feels. Yeah, it's probably fine. All right, I've asked Voyager about the location of the recede timer. We'll see if we can't figure that out later on. Okay, I think we're good to go on the change side of things. So now I will gear up to do my ice map. Except I'm also going to take this opportunity to BRB. So there you go. That'll be that. BRB. Hi. I have returned. You know, one of the things that I'm the most excited about when we end up getting the new engine in action, I really want to see the really want to just unlock my potential for designing new races and stuff, like really push the envelope in that respect. I think that'll be banging, personally. So, just some food for thought there, I suppose. I'll just have to seal this area off, I think, that's all. So I'm going to add a base along this little ridge here and try to leverage the fact that there's a ramp over here that will allow this player to, in theory, contest with that player pretty early on. But also add enough of a backing strip over in this area such that it's going to be difficult for the Protoss player to directly harass. This is a bit more of a compromise than anything, though, because I don't actually know if this would be that swell of an idea, ultimately. So I'm going to go for some outpost. On the snow here. Oh, looks like I don't actually have that added to the brush for some reason. So I'll just fix that real quick. It will definitely make it a lot easier to paint these areas. I'm kind of impressed that, for whatever reason, I decided it wasn't worthwhile to do it for that giant area in the top left. But whatever. I sure hope I'll eventually be able to rename and reshuffle the orientation of certain brush entries. See how fast that was now that we got it taken care of? Of course, my only regret is that I named it Compound instead of Outpost in the brush palette. Pretty fucking sad state of affairs now. As I've realized, that's not what this is called. The one little sprinkle here is that obviously this, ideally there would be one tile over here that would allow me to blend the compound or outpost ramp such that I don't have to worry about it, and it would be this right here, except I only have it for, oh, maybe I did have it for this. Oh, it looks like I do. Perfect. Yeah, so anyway, the spacing is a little bit better now that I've done that. It's obviously a bit more symmetrical as well, so I will take it. Very nice, very nice. And good to know that I actually have that in the back pocket there. Just a tiny little bit of terrain over there that will help us out in that respect. Now let's get the resources planted. Okay. I don't really like that there's no... what do you call it? There's not really that much turret room is the problem, huh? Still think that's better than what it could have been. So I'll take that. There we go. There's a bit of turret room over here, not that you would ever really use it, but in theory that'll be a nice bit of extra spacing for whatever we might need. I just got Archoned, but I don't know by who because my Streamlabs is out of date on this scene. Whoever that was, thanks. Let me see if I can't find the correct browser source here. There we go. It looks like it was Veek. Veeker! Welcome. What brings you to Twitch? It's going pretty well. I did a little bit of rebalancing some stuff. Oh, actually, I haven't pulled that to the website yet. But I did some rebalancing of some units. And we're getting ready to ship a patch tomorrow, it looks like. Ideally, anyway. I'll just pull that stuff to the site now. Ah, you clicked the other link. I see. Understandable. Oh, just scroll up a little bit here. See if we can't stitch this together. Well, I would hope that Twitch is better in YouTube than YouTube in some things, at least. But that is good to hear. It looks like we somehow managed to stitch that fucking thing together. Pretty incredible sights, honestly. Alright. We still need to get a little bit more work done, though. I guess maybe I can do this with just some doodads, right? Oops. Alright, I've just got to jump into the copy, cut, and paste layer. And grab... I'm sure I have some doodads somewhere that fit the bill over here. I've got this one. And was there another one? Doesn't look like it. Drop that in a few different places, I guess. Okay, so now that we've done that, did you guys know I used to be really obsessed with the number of doodads that were placed on a map? Purely because I mistakenly associated count of doodads with quality of aesthetics. Pretty embarrassing times, to be completely honest. This really needs more like texture work around it. Like a high rocky snow would be perfect, but very time consuming to assemble. Something else we're going to need to do, of course, is take a look at where I've got my little cheat tiles. Make sure that we completely seal off these pathways that we do not want traveled. By no means a scalable solution, but at least it's something that we can do. At least we can do something, you know what I mean? We were not always so fortuitous. I mean, it's like a ridiculous thing to think about. But things used to be a lot worse. We used to be a lot worse off when it came to assembling this sort of thing. When trying to assemble pretty much anything. Before we had custom tile sets, before we had all the good stuff. I do still wish we had grass that blended with snow, but that's all right. Can't have everything, I suppose. Man, I forgot how good the fucking ice doodads look. I mean, the water doodads. Like, damn. Damn, boy. Even though that kind of blocks up some stuff, the fact that it is so close together so nicely, I'll take it. That's a trade-off I'm willing to make. Oh shit, I invented my own doodad on the spot. Impressive. Oh, didn't realize I already did that one. Pranked. Man, honestly, even though it's like incredibly time consuming, some of the most rewarding stuff comes from when you're like doing the last bit of visual detail that you throw on your map. I should do this a bit more often, I think. I don't often get to flex my detailing finesse. I just don't usually make a huge amount of time for it, is the real issue. Oh, fuck. All right, cool. Honestly, I was already looking at it, making eyes at it before I even started doing all of this doodad detailing, and I was like, "Holy shit, this looks good!" And then now I'm looking at it, and like that last reaction that I had is almost unwarranted based on what I'm looking at now. It's way more like just more interesting visually, I guess. Stuff to decide what I want to do over here. I want to create an area to fight over more than I want to create a really anything else, I guess. I don't know. I don't necessarily think we need another expansion in this region, given that I've just expanded added another one a little bit further down. So I think we'll just seal off the stuff over here. Obviously, this is an area where if I had north-facing ramps for... Oh, wait. I think I do, don't I? I think the one that I don't have... Oh, maybe I don't have north-facing ones for... Wait, this is it, right? Okay. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, in that case, we're actually going to undo what we have going on here. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I don't actually know what blends with this specifically. Looks like it's this. I'm not sure actually how much this will be used, since it's pretty thin. But I think it'll be a nice little area that you can, you know, reposition. Okay, I'm thinking at this point, what we probably want to jump into is we really ought to get some work done on the top right area. And I think we also need to do a fair bit of work in the middle. Ideally with just not just detailing, but also just all sorts of small stuff. I guess the whole map really kind of needs detailing overall. But I am enjoying pushing like the man-made angle over in the upper left area. I think that's kind of neat. Well, Well, that's good to know for later. What a master. What a massive, insane world. I can't believe that's real. Why? Why have they done this? My fucking Twitch emotes got approved. Pretty prank. Why? What the fuck? Okay. Whoa! Dude, I got advertised. But I don't understand why it takes 8 years to open. All right, let's continue tweaking some of this stuff. We definitely need to figure out what we're doing with this large area of flat terrain. Oh yeah, that is actually an idea. How many new things do we even have? We have Quarry, Treasury, Future Station. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so I'm seeing 29 new units for Terrans. Over here we have... Oh, I think I have to skip this stupid song. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, so All right, so I want to fill in this area. I want to add something a bit more in basically all of these areas here. So like fill in this sort of inner strip and then fill out the top right-hand corner. That's what I'm going to keep myself on task for. And then once that's taken care of, I think I'll call it there. But we'll see how we do. I think I do actually have. Nice. Perfect. That's not what I thought I copied and pasted. Where is it? Oh, I guess it is. Okay, cool. We can smooth this one out, I think, a little bit. Okay. Add a bit more maneuverability over there. Also more space I can fill in with some details later on. Okay. What's up, Bailiff? I also can't believe that. Pretty fucking absurd. Somebody would have had to tell them that it even existed. Not to be insensitive. But they physically could not possibly have had a problem with it. How would they know? Yeah, of course. That's how it always goes down. Oh. It looks like I don't have a tile for that. Never mind then. I thought I did, but only for some other stuff. I agree. Yeah, well, on top of that, it's like, what kind of representation do they have aside from it? Aside from whatever's in the popular culture at the time, right? So you're actually like reducing their visibility, which is a term that they love to use, right? The people who are censorious are very often caught saying stuff like, you're reducing the visibility of these people. And what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I basically have to just try to empathize with the people who are affected because I don't really. The thing is, like, this is another angle to this that I think doesn't really get discussed that often. But white Americans don't really have culture, right? And it's in the same way that somebody of another background would. So, like, I don't even know I couldn't even shadow box what it would be like to not have to have my culture censored or whatever the fuck, any of these situations. Like, I don't even know what the fuck would constitute white American culture. Like, it's not European, right? At least if you're born in Europe, even if you're white, you have some sort of background there. Like, I can trace my lineage back to sort of like Irish, Italian mixed descendants, but that doesn't really do anything as far as my culture goes because I don't have like a direct connection with people who had Italian traditions or Irish traditions, right? Like, there's nothing like that in my history as an individual. So I actually don't. I've like completely missed out. I think even British people have some sort of culture that they can circle back to and point to as like some component of their upbringing that makes that like that makes them different than in other places. Whereas I'm different. I have like a bit of the American vibe, but I think anybody who's born in America, regardless of their lineage, that's like a regional thing as opposed to a specific regional plus heritage based cultural aspect. You know what I mean? So while I would say like there's obviously an American culture that people have in their minds like come up with and thought of, it's still not really the same thing. You know what I mean? So I personally don't even know where I would begin to try to understand what these people might be thinking or what perspectives they have. And I fully admit that I'm not like not able to fully shadowbox that. But really it's like I'm take this with a grain of salt basically. But what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm getting at, is that I actually don't know what it would look like if I had a culture and then somebody was like censoring references to it on my behalf rather than me personally getting offended by it. Then I think I would assume the sort of like bigotry of low expectations thing going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't think I never really felt like I identified with that in the same way Lucifer is. I feel like while that's probably true as a cultural mindset for a couple of years back, maybe like maybe last generation, uh, my generation and the one that came up, all of the ones that came up subsequently have basically been told to like hate America and discard everything. And so I don't know. I haven't really, I never really grew up in a culture that celebrated any sort of, or even like, I guess now at least it's recognized as a cultural trait or thought or mentality, even though it's recognized as, it's considered bad, negative, but at least they're still saying like these are elements of our culture or whatever. Now, I mean, you can debate whether or not they're correct about that stuff, but what I'm sort of getting at here is at least there's some acknowledgement of that. Whereas, from what I can tell, like I didn't even really grow up feeling like there was an acknowledgement of any sort of cultural thing. I feel like it was that in between phase where at first it was stressed up, it was played up, and it was like the thing to do. It was the patriotic thing to do, or whatever it is to recognize what American culture is like, and then like now it's American culture bad, and you get like some people going the other way on that. But in between, when I came up, it didn't really feel like there was much of anything going on there whatsoever. So I don't know. I could be, mistaken on that. Maybe other people would have different takes, but I just don't personally remember experiencing a feeling or a sense of like attachment to the dirt I was born on, sort of thing. You know what I mean? I don't quite recall anything like that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of things that result in it being somewhat diffuse across different state boundaries and stuff. There's worse things to be controlled by, I suppose. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty absurd. I don't quite grasp how they've fallen so far. It's like legitimate redneck country. What's up, Mao Lee, dude? Glad to see you again, man. I hope you've been all right. I mean, you're typing in a YouTube chat, so I hope that means things can't be too bad. Long time no see, man. Oh, really? I didn't know that that was illegal in other states. I never would have considered that angle. Yeah, people have been certainly have been suffering a little bit differently. But I'm glad you're not doing too bad. That's all I'll say. The only two Italians I know are doing okay, which means by that anecdotal evidence, everything's fine. It's all going to work out. Well, I would never argue that they don't have any culture. It's just that from my personal perspective, I don't think I have like a whatever the term would actually be for culture. Like culture as it pertains to my region or ethnicity or genetic makeup. That sort of thing. Like I'm not bringing traditions from where I'm from or where my ancestors were from. I don't have anything that really connects me back to those people. I've got some things like a mild accent, I would assume, from living here. I've got, I'm sure, some mannerisms. I'm sure some subtle things that are just ingrained into my character as a result of that being somewhat normal. I'm also like, I'm pretty sure there's some atypical neurology happening with me in general. Like I've always jokingly said I'm autistic or something, but there's probably some spectrumy thing going on. So I think that also has a play in how much I've adapted or not adapted or stayed up separate from my surroundings in that sense. So I think that's a little bit that probably has a part to play in it as well, where I'm just like not predisposed to be connected to people in general. Like I was not a very sociable individual, especially growing up. I really had to learn that skill to be a people person in that sense. So I think that probably has a part to play in my feelings of connection or not connected, connectedness. Yeah, but if you Balethal, the other thing about this sort of conversation too is that if you even start talking about white culture or like most of the time people will just try to find some way to spin it back on once upon a time cultural appropriation where white people didn't invent anything or didn't really like found anything, you know what I mean? Like they'll just assume that like they like to imagine that it was stolen from somebody else basically. Sort of like how a lot of leftists will view wealth as like a zero sum game or whatever instead of it being a rising tide thing. And because they already like fundamentally believe it in that way, I feel like it's pretty easy to get fucked by definitions before you even really start talking to these people. So wow, that's a very controversial statement. I disavow. Unbelievable racism. Yeah, well, that is true as well. I'm not saying that our current implementation of shit is very is particularly great, but how was Huncraft? It was fucking horrible. Do not recommend. I guess the story being as insane as it was almost warranted a continuation, but because it was that bad in terms of like what it made me sit through on a gameplay level, where it would just spawn in a million units and kill me that way several times. I mean, I didn't die. The only time I actually lost was there was one time I lost where I think I restarted a mission at some point, but I could have in theory fought back. But there was one time I had lost where it was because of spawned in units, but that wasn't the first time that units had been spawned in. Like from the very first mission, they just spawn units in. So it's just no, don't do it. I'm right there with you, Veek. What's up, the Beaver? Yeah, DF Darkened Fantasies made them and put them together for me. Reconstructed them from the beta. I think they came out really nice. It's the melting pot, dude. You know, I've unironically been thinking about doing just chatting streams on Twitch. I don't actually know what I would just chat about, though. Yeah, that's the thing, Mally. Like, when I'm thinking of things that could even be in the running for being culturally appropriated in the first place, right? Like that's sort of what I'm getting at here. Is like I can't come up with anything that that makes that connection. You know what I mean? Like if there was going to be an accusation of cultural appropriation against specifically white Americans, I don't know what the fuck that would do. Whereas I think even black Americans probably, obviously regionally, depending on the state, but I feel like they have a very defined, like there's something about other, you could call them minority Americans, I guess, but I don't actually know how much that's even true. I don't actually know who the majority is anymore. But either way, like I think a lot of those people they're able to trace back traditions and cultural ticks, things that make their general character distinct. Whereas I'm not sure that the same thing follows for good old Whitey. So I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad thing. I think maybe it might make it a little bit harder for some white people to feel connected to their culture or whatever, but I don't know. I don't look at it as something that is in need of like enormous error correction or whatever. If that makes any sense. Just chatting is offensive to people who are unable to speak. I like that one. Yeah, I guess that's true, Balethal. I mean, maybe the more I think about this sort of unchecked assumption, right? Like the more I am seeing that maybe it's not correct because I'm thinking now that it might. Yeah, it might not be because I'm thinking like if I think of any of the sort of like meme of the South, it's that they have that thick accent and a bunch of other stuff that's like very regionally specific. So yeah, I guess it's just more like what Luciferius was saying earlier, where there's like a lot that you've got to keep in mind regionally speaking, as opposed to considering it from an angle of like purely thinking of it about from the perspective of the whole country. Because the scale of America definitely gets lost on people, I think. Like, if I had to guess anyway. I'm pretty certain I've underestimated that as an element. Maybe it's because like city life or city adjacent life, the whole idea is that you're usually working in a cubicle or something where like it's actually just more, it's less of a headache for people if you just adopt all of the office traditions or whatever instead of fucking around and being unique. You know what I mean? Like that's also almost like a meme unto itself, but by and large I think that that is a fair critique or fair assessment of city life, right? Is like your job kind of beats some sort any sort of like uniqueness out of you. So maybe that's why it's like I feel sort of despondent about or not really despondent. Like again, I'm not really making a qualitative judgment on such cases, but I do feel like maybe that's an element that is associated with it. Because I do feel like, in particular, when I think of all of the people that I've known, it's really the only thing that makes them unique from other people is not. It's not like a regional thing. It's like whatever fucking pathology they might have on a personality level. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're fucking crazy in this way or something. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes them more unique. And they, you know, there's from what limited research I've conducted myself, there's studies that have indicated that city life leads to higher mental illness or mental pathology. So under such a such an analysis, I would not be like immensely surprised. I also think like the family unit is like pretty different amongst white Americans. Like you generally have less people per household as well, I think, which means that you've got less opportunities to pass on any particular traditions. I'm not really sure. These are all like spitballing ideas that might be related. I don't fully know if they are. Wait, what the fuck was this before? Oh. So this is that. Right? Yeah, we just need it to be this. And then this is that. I think I did that down here. If I can find that exact one, I'll be in business. Here we go. Great. Well, I meant like unique relative to other people, regionally speaking. Like if I was trying to come up with an idea for what would make somebody like what I would call somebody's culture, like I wouldn't really know what to even call it for the people who live here, you know what I mean? Like they're pretty much the same, I guess. And I find a lot of parity across all sorts of different conceptions, so like a bunch of different regions might have very very similar work culture, especially if it's like a branch of a business, right? It's definitely something I should think a little bit more on, though. I'm not gonna claim to know or to have made like, you know, had any epiphanies or whatever based on this stuff. But some interesting thoughts anyway. But I do think that family unit thing is another angle to potentially take, right? Because you don't really know the kinds of, I don't really know how to describe that exactly, but it's like you don't really, you can't fully know how to, like, how many people are going to get a certain tradition or whatever passed on to them. But in theory, there's a much higher chance of some sort of tradition being preserved if you have a variety of different individuals that could potentially receive that tradition and then pass it on to their children and so on and so forth. So I think that probably plays a part in it, were I to do some guesswork. Truly incredible sights. Does that even leave? Okay, there is room still. Right, yeah. That's why I brought up the whole like family unit thing, because the nuclear family was basically like have a limited number of children compared to what was going on before, and like don't live with your whole family. Like Mao Lee can probably attest to this if he's still hanging out in the chat. He was talking about a while ago. I remember seeing a stat that was like the vast majority of Italian families have like multiple generations within the same household. And that's like an example of something that just doesn't happen in America for the most part. Question is, do I want to also drop another base over here? Not sure. Just gonna zone this area off since I know it's going to be a raised area. So I guess there could be like one other base over here as well. Okay. All right, so I think I'll have one that's like tucked in over here. It'll be a nice little shared area. And then I think we can do... I hope that you can actually mine that mineral field. I vaguely recall some fuckery happening with you. Or two, like if there's a mineral field on a border, but it might be on the bottom as opposed to the top. Well, I mean, there is a lot of residual guilt from the years of legitimate legal or legalized oppression or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's a... It's almost eye-rolly to consider it now because it's just been, like, laid... We've just been never hearing the end of it, basically, right? So, like, it's hard to sympathize with anybody who brings it up now. But that's how a lot of this stuff essentially happened. There was some residual guilt, you know, and people were taken advantage of, I think, in that respect. They certainly didn't want to be seen as like as anything other than repentant or whatever you would call that. So I think that probably played a big part in it, unfortunately. And now it's just really hard to stop something like that, you know? I wanted to circle back real quick to Veek's suggestion of a dad caw but streamed. I actually think that something like that might work out for the channel map almost, where, well, I guess a dad caw could be it too, but something where I have a topic in mind to discuss, or maybe a small list of topics for like a in theory, it would just be like maybe an hour-long show or something in terms of what I was presenting. But then we would add some stuff to that based on the chat and what they wanted to say. So like minimum, I've got enough content to talk for like somewhere between a half an hour to an hour. And then after that, it's like if it goes longer than that, it's because I found something in the middle of that I wanted to talk about, or something to that extent. Anyway, I'm going to take another BRB. I do actually... maybe I should just bail for now. I wanted to finish this top right area, since it's coming along. I guess I'll just place another expansion and call it for now. Because what I'm thinking at this point is we should have... this little base over here. Well, of course. Just randomly because of some Pathfinder region shuffle. I'll fix that later. For good. By moving the start location. But yeah, it's already been a decent amount of time, and Fraud Strike is starting pretty soon, so I want to make sure that I've gotten enough time to chill out a little bit ahead of that. I'm really happy with how some of this stuff came out, though. Apparently it's illegal to say that. Sorry, guys. I've been had... Actually, I think that was a fire engine, to be honest, but I'm not sure. Yeah, that's why like people have been very distrustworthy of healthcare providers recently, I think, because of similar things. Like, at least it's in my small circle, it seems to have been a considerable, like a growing sort of sentiment that people are realizing they might have been had in that respect, because it's there's a lot more money in perpetual treatment than there is in cures, right? In terms of like what you can actually get. At least that's I'm not really 100% sure if that's actually the case. It sounds right, but I don't know how the financials behind all of those systems work, so I can't really claim to know for sure. But I will definitely say that it sounds correct. But just because it sounds correct doesn't mean it is correct. So that's something I would actually have to study up on. But Well, I'm not really sure how widespread that such a. It's definitely beyond my pay grade in terms of like what I've studied myself, but it looks like it's certainly very promising, and I'd love to see more advancements in that field. Um, but I'm not sure that it hasn't been leveraged because of corporate greed as opposed to because the technology isn't there yet. So I just don't know enough about it to make any sort of determination like that. Oh yeah, I don't even know player 6 is. I think they're Protoss, or what are they? I'd actually prefer for them to be Zerg, honestly. Well, I think that'll do it for me. I'm gonna throw this on my Twitter just because I rarely ever tweet about kind of things that I'm able to do in this lovely environment. So figure I'll throw that there. But thanks everybody for hanging out today. We'll be back in about 15 minutes or so to smash out some high quality work on, or smash out some high quality games, I should say, because we'll be playing some Counter Strike. So check that out. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.